All right, welcome back to Omni Garage. So for those who follow the channel pretty regularly, you'll notice that we've gone through a large catalogue of Ryobi tools that both Glenn and I own, and we've pretty much rounded out that project and we've pretty much made a video on every single tool that we own. So for me, I only own Ryobi tools.
You do?
I have no experience with Ego. So you'll see in this video here that we've got the Ego Line Trimmer. So this is very new for me. This is my first ever experience with an Ego product, other than the blower that we use occasionally for drying off the car. But this is the first experience I've had with their garden range. And so this is the tool you own, so you can talk us through your experience of owning it.
Yeah, so I mean, the reason for me to go out and purchase this, because I did own a Ryobi line trimmer. It wasn't quite as nice as the one you had, but I remember I borrowed yours and I ended up buying this out of necessity. We bought a section and the grass was probably about knee height and I needed to cut through it with a line trimmer.
You needed something heavy duty.
Yep. I went online, I read some reviews around what are the best, most powerful. I think that the most best is probably a hard way to put it, but I was looking for the most powerful line trimmer, essentially to help me get through that project.
In a battery range.
In the battery
range. You can go out and buy a 2-stroke petrol motor here that will beat probably most of these.
Beat anything, yep.
But you wanted to stay within a battery system, and you want to stay within a battery Ego system, and you had already had the leaf blower that Ego had, and so for you to then get this, it kind of made sense because you were already into the battery ecosystem.
In the ecosystem, yeah. So I had 2 of these 2.5 amp hour batteries already. So for me, I could go out and pick up a skin only. And what I ended up with this one here is the pretty much the top of the range that Ego make. So this is the ST1520ES, and to translate that, it's a brushless motor, variable trigger. So the brushless motor goes all the way from 4,000 to 5,800 RPM, so you kind of can tailor it to the job that you're trying to do.
Right.
You've got a carbon fibre shaft on here, so you've got a really strong shaft, helps bring the weight down a little bit as well. One of my favourite features on this is the auto feed. I'll show you that very shortly. It can be frustrating at times, but when you get it right, they call that power load system. Quite ergonomical as well, I think. With the handle, you've got a bit of cushion on there, and then it's powerful. Powerful as anything with this 56 volt battery range.
So straight away, I can kind of see when you compare it to that Ryobi one that we've already had, especially more mine rather than yours, I can see here that this is definitely bigger than an 18 volt battery, and the build quality of it looks a little bit more substantial.
Yeah, I mean, weight wise on that, what would you kind of compare that to yours when I get too scientific?
Oh, this is heavier.
Yep.
I think this is heavier. It sounds, well, it doesn't sound, but it feels a lot, the Ryobi one feels a little bit plasticky like.
Yep.
This here feels pretty solid. I mean, carbon fibre.
Yeah, it is carbon fibre all the way down, right? There's no, this is your only attachment piece, so you can fold the tool in half if you need to here, but I mean, the build quality of this is substantial, as it should be for the price you pay. This is more than double what the Ryobi tool
Well,
runs.
there you go. So if I was to spend more money, I would expect that the product would be more substantial.
Should be.
And especially if you're paying double, then that makes sense. But even with the battery system, right? The battery system is even more expensive again. So this is quite a hefty, expensive tool to get.
It's the batteries.
Yeah.
The batteries really rung you on this. So it's going to sting you. If you're looking to enter the Ego range and you don't have any batteries, it really is going to sting you. That first purchase, when you are getting a couple of batteries, these things do not run cheap. I've got this teamed up with a 2.5 amp hour battery here, and that's good for about 30 minutes runtime on this. I would say in real world use case, when I was cutting that knee-high grass, I'd probably get 20 minutes. Probably chop 10 minutes off that range because I am running it full bore. It's really having to work hard to chop that grass. But if you're using it in a setting like this, where you haven't got too much to tidy up, you're just maintaining your edges, you should get a full 30 minutes out of the 2.5 amp hour. And I think it's probably a good battery to team up with this as well, because it keeps the weight down, because that's already quite heavy.
If you were to put that 5 amp hour battery on there, it makes it heavier again.
Yep, so what we might do, we'll bring the camera in a bit closer, show you some of the features nice and close on this and how it works, and then we'll show you it in operation. And what we might do is get you to give it a go, and you can have your first experience on the Ego.
Ooh, okay, sounds good.
We've got the battery, which simply clicks into the top there. You've got the lever, so if you press that down, you can pull that out, back in, nice and easy. Obviously, it is a brushless motor. If we come down, we've got that variable trigger, so it will not allow itself to be engaged without first pressing the safety switch here. So you need to hold the safety, then you can engage the trigger. You can let off that because it keeps it held in, and that's variable trigger. As soon as you let off and the machine stops running, you'll need to engage that lever again there in order to run it. You've got the handle, obviously. You can change the placement of this as well. So if you feel more comfortable having this further to the side, or you do want to flip this around, you've got the freedom to change that through the bolts there. You can also fold the system in half. So if you loosen this piece here, you can fold this in half, which makes it a lot easier to transport it, take it in the car. Carbon fibre shaft all the way down to the bottom, and then you get into the probably the point of difference on this machine, and what makes this the flagship Ego line trimmer is the POWERLOAD technology. So what the POWERLOAD technology is it's a way for you to be able to feed new string into this tool here without having to go through too much trouble. Your cutting width is 38 centimeters wide, so you've got pretty good width on this. You can get through a lot of square meters within a pretty short time frame. But what we'll do, let's show you this POWERLOAD technology, because if you hit that button, it feeds the string in. So our string's completely disappeared there now. So what better time than to pull it out and show you how you go and load this if you ran out of string in the tool. Okay, so unlike a lot of other line trimmers, you would need to take off this assembly here, and this would most likely, this cartridge will be interchangeable. Now the cartridge on the Ego is fixed in there, and everything else spins around it in a clockwise fashion. So if you were reloading this, you can simply leave this on the tool. So we'll click that back into place. And the way you go and do this is you want to get your string. And the trick here is as long as you feed it straight through the tool, so you've got this point here or this point here, so you want to make sure this goes straight in, and then it will feed around the side, and there we go, pull it through. Now there's no manual winding you need to do here. The tip I would give you is just make sure these are roughly the same length. Then you've got a little button on the top of the tool here you can press, and what happens when we press that, it auto winds the string into the tool. And then what we can do is bump feed it back out. So as long as the machine is running, you can smack this on the ground. And it will cut the line perfectly to length on there. Okay, so I've just handed the tool over to Glenn. This is his lawn. He knows the technique around this area.
It's my first experience. Here we go.
Compare it.
I mean, when you're cutting a small area like this and the grass isn't too thick along here, it's quite hard to see whether this is greater than, better than, worse than any other type of model, but we're definitely cutting through there at great pace, and I like the sturdiness and the feel of this machine. It's pretty solid. It's stout.
You probably don't even need to be as close to the fence as you have been cutting there as well, because you've got more of a
you've got a bit of a reach there.
You do.
And that cutting path looks bigger than what I've currently used before. So what I like about this model is we've got the bump feed on there, so we're getting low on line, but we can get a little bit more line out, which is super handy. That will help maximize our cutting path, but also when we come up to areas like this, we've got a variable trigger here, so you can be a bit more control. You can sort of control how fast you're going to spin. And that helps when you come up to delicate areas like this. Like, you don't want to go full bore and smack this into this pipe, so you can be a bit more controlled around here. Yeah man, I like this.
I think that's the benefit to a tool like this as well, with the variable speed. I know on some other tools you've got variable dials, you can switch between, you know, a slow mode or a fast mode. I like to be able to adjust this one on the fly, and I think that trigger is pretty ergonomical on this as well. Like, it's comfy to use.
Yeah, so you're not having to use a thumb or anything like that to push that in and then go. It's just nicely placed there for, that's obviously for safety, for on or off of the machine, and then you've got your trigger there.
And it's relatively quiet, right? Like, it does sound powerful, so it's 67 decibels at its, I guess, at its full power, which is the that trigger pulled all the way down. It sounds pretty meaty though, doesn't it? Like, it doesn't sound like it's going to
it doesn't sound cheap.
Anything. No.
So sometimes you can get, you know, that lower end of battery powered tools, they sound cheap, they feel a bit plasticky. This, with the carbon fibre shaft, all sort of one unit, there's nothing sort of additionally attached onto here or anything like that. The head's all nice and solid, it's not plastic. It feels like it's worth a decent amount of money, and that's exactly what this tool is, right?
I think one of the things that I do struggle to get to grips with this tool is it's pretty one-dimensional, and what I mean by that is it's good for edging the things that we've just done around your concrete work, around your pipe, you know, around the side of the house, along fence lines. Where I don't think that you would want to use this machine is to use it in place of a dedicated edger. So what I'll get Glenn to do here, he hasn't tried this at all. We've got a grate drain here, so I'll get you to have a go at actually edging around that, because I know you can do that with a lot of other line trimmers. Quite a few of them have an adjustment in the handle that allows you to
where you can
twist it.
Twist it on the side. Here I'm having to manually do that.
Yep. So,
and I would usually use my Roby edger to do this.
Correct, and I think that that is what you still would reach for even if you had this tool, but give it a go and let's show exactly what we're talking about.
The problem is when you come to an area like this, is that this tool is not as precise to do edges, so you end up taking a lot of grass and you end up making the edge look uglier than if you were to use a dedicated tool. But we can try and see how I get on.
And this is exactly what Glenn was talking about here. So you've taken a bit of a gouge out of the grass here, which you wouldn't have done if you used a traditional edger. And I think that's probably a downside to this edger versus some more traditional ones where you do have the adjustability on the handle to go and do it. Because to be completely honest, I think that's made a bit of a mess of that area. I'd be pretty disappointed if I was...
Well, that's the other thing, right, is that if I have to go and do the edge of the driveway, I have to go and do the edge of the path around here, it's going to take too long, and therefore I had to think about that quite hard to be able to do that and not look like an absolute fool on here. But I would rather then get a dedicated edging tool.
Yeah, so I don't think that you want to buy this thinking that it's going to replace your existing line trimmer and your edger. It will replace your line trimmer or be your line trimmer. You're still going to want a dedicated edger if you want to have really pristine results, because as you can see right there, I'll be pretty disappointed if that's what my edges look like all the way around my property. And I think because you don't have that adjustability in the handle, you're going to take gouges out of edges like that. There we go, that's a really quick overview of the Ego line trimmer. So what were your thoughts comparing this against some of the ones that you've had experience with? Is this something you would...
This is something I want to go and get.
Okay.
I like this tool.
So you converted to the Ego blower and the Ego line trimmer now, in your mind at least anyway.
In my mind, yeah. Yep. Financially, probably not committed.
Yeah, that's right, we'll get there.
I like the build quality of this. It definitely feels a lot more substantial than what I'm currently using. The battery system is something that I want to get involved with, and this is a tool that I'd like to go out and buy.
Yeah, so look, if you're interested in checking out any of the other tool reviews we have on the channel, to date we've got a lot of Ryobi tools, but we're going to start working our way through the Ego set. I think the next one to come up for now, I don't actually know what the next one could be. We've got the blower, we've got the lawnmower, we've got a hedge trimmer as well that we can try. So there's a lot more to come, so make sure you hit that subscribe button to stay tuned for all the latest from Omni Garage. But otherwise, we'll see you guys in the next one.
Thanks for watching.